Welcome, hello, and promise that you will sing about me. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy finishing up the Dhammapada, everybody. And happy quick sound check, everybody. But I hope it's a lovely day where you're at. I'm sure it is. Even if it's stormy, I'm sure that
I
you can.
hope it's a lovely day
Oh,
where you're at.
well, my sound's working, so that part, check that box. Even if it's stormy where you're at, even if it's like a desert, I'm sure it's still beautiful. Maybe you just need to take another look. So, welcome to my channel. This is Jay Balvell, and today I'll be finishing up this book I've been reading, the Dhammapada. Welcome. I hope you enjoy it. And I'm really excited for today because, like I already said, alluded to, when the lights go off, we're dying of thirst out here. And that's what we'll be getting into today. I'm excited. This one's really good. This last little bit is really good, but especially this one on thirst coming up is really good. And I love that song too, man. That's like one of my favorite ones. That whole album, Good Kid, Mad City, such a good album. But and it came to me at one of those times when it was stormy. It was a stormy port that I was worried I was going to be pulling into, and by the time it was all said and done, the sun was shining, and that album was one of those ones that was there for me in that difficult time. But it is funny how like you re-listen to these things and they then you realize there's like, well, like it doesn't really matter like if you have a spiritual or esoteric understanding of things, you know what I mean? It's just like the human thing, everybody's existence and everybody's experience is so varied and nuanced that the best songs are the ones that maybe have like a common underlying theme, but also everybody interprets a little bit differently because it kind of hits for everybody a little bit differently based on what they've got going on in life. But what better song than the song of the seven stringed lyre of the Almighty Creator? All right, music playing, chat looking good. Let's pull a tarot card and then let's read this book. Should be a pretty short one today. We should fly through it. And then I'm really looking forward to finishing up the Book of the Law tonight as well. Man, that thing is just hitting in whole new ways. And that's what it does. That's what it all does, huh? Whether it's music, whether it's, I don't know, whatever it is in life, whether it's your own cooking. Maybe if you could like go back and taste your cooking at first compared to what it is now, you'd be like, dang, I have gotten pretty good. I have gotten pretty good in this kitchen. Maybe like you're a carpenter. And so you realize like, oh, some of those first woodworkings, yeah, they were kind of sucky, but you got to start somewhere. And look at where I've got to now. Jazz Carter, what up? Welcome in. I hope you're having a marvelous Friday. All right, there we go. Okay, so let's see what the tarot's got to say about all that today. Nice, beautiful Friday. Air is just, it's a lovely day today for me. I hope that you can say the same where you're at. And maybe you can. Maybe it's like, maybe you'll be in the future and this will fall in your lap and you'll be like, you know what? It is a nice day here. And that's cool that it was a nice day there at that space time for Jay as well. This thing is a trip, man. If nothing else, this thing is a trip. And what's trippier than dreams? I don't know. Okay, so anyway, Tarot, tell us what we want to know. That card kind of wants attention. Should we just go with that one? Yeah, why not? It was gonna jump, but we'll give it the chance to be pulled, huh? And What do I see when I touch it? I see air. Wrong. Dang, 7 again though. That's great. That's perfect for today. 7 of Wands. Nice. We've seen this one before. Mars in Leo. 7. That's Zach on the Tree of Life. Oh, that's probably for me because I was just barely doing a little sketch. I would show you, but it's not appropriate for YouTube. But yeah, I was just doing like a little sketch in my notebook. And so maybe it's just for me. Maybe it's this tapping into the flames of spirit, into that creative spark, getting a little more put into the form of Netzach, putting some beauty around it. Mars is in here too, so her lover is shadowed within this card. And Leo. Valor. Well, all right. In a more general sense, though, this just has a lot to do with what we've been saying over here already. Welcome in, everybody just coming in. And that's the fact that you're Arjuna on the battlefield, and Krishna is telling you, dude, I don't want to hear your Vedantic philosophy. I want to watch you fight this battle right now. That's what I want. I don't. Oh wow, cool. Sick reels. Sick repeating. Like sick finding Nemo singling me, Arjuna, with nothing is true, everything is permitted 9,000 times in a row. Wow, or what, whatever. Sick. Yeah, your philosophy is worthless right now, dude. Go fight this battle. Just go fight this battle. We'll talk about it when you're done. Valor. You're gonna need valor for something like that, because valor is kind of like honor, but it's like I don't know. I feel like it goes a little because honor. I feel like maybe you're where there's still maybe that little bit of an element of ego involved in it. Like it's based on what other people consider to be honorable or something. You know what I mean? Like it's measured against something. Whereas valor is just like balls to the wall, fire, like we see here. That center wand. Well, you know what that is for you anyway in your life, probably. Whatever your center wand is, whatever it is you're using to make magic into this world. If it's a hammer to build houses, if it's like if it's a pencil to draw things, if it's a spatula to cook, if it's a car to drive in to go take people to the airport for Uber driving, it doesn't matter. Right now, that's the wand in your hands, and so and that's the battle you're doing. In another term, so be valorous about that thing, whatever it might be for you. Because we got to start somewhere, right? So instead of worrying so much about that higher ideal of like HGA and true will and all that, it's like, what's right in front of you right now? Dance with that thing. Do battle with that thing. Love that thing. Hate that thing. Whatever, do the dance with it. All right, everyone. 7, Venus, Friday. We love that. And we love to be hydrated when we've been oh so thirsty. Holy water. You need to be baptized in the Spirit of the Lord. Seems that just about every culture and every time of humanity has agreed upon that. But the problem is we get fanatics out here. Oh yeah, I got to put you the other way right now. We do get people who get fanatical out here. And that's fine too. Ultimately that's part of the dance too. We'll just say that they're on a more like, well, we got that wheel last night in our book of the law. So if we use the tarot a little bit more, they're still getting crushed a little more by that wheel. The wheel's dancing on them instead of them dancing with the wheel or on top of the wheel. But we need hydration because you need grease, you need lube, baby, for that wheel to be rolling smooth. And what lubes it up better than blood? All right, anyway. So chapter 24, thirst. It has been said that Buddhism is essentially a psychology of desire. The second noble truth proclaims selfish desire or craving as the cause of all the suffering in life, and its importance in Buddhist thought is evident in the fact that the Buddha uses at least 15 terms for it. The chief of these is Trishna, which literally means thirst. See? Dying of thirst. She was right the whole time. It is an apt word, for in a tropical country like India, the intense craving for water on a scorching, dry day makes a vivid metaphor for the fiercest of human drives. Trishna is that force which drives all creatures to seek personal satisfaction of their urges at any cost, even at the expense of others. It is the deadliest and subtlest of snares because its gratification almost always brings a surge of satisfaction, reinforcing the compulsion to act on that desire again. It is only later that the consequences of pursuing self centered desires begin to burn like coals smoldering under the ashes. Any action undertaken for personal aggrandizement, any human activity or institution that promotes one person or group at the expense of any other, the Buddha would trace to the root cause of selfish desire. Religious fanaticism, political fanaticism, identity fanaticism. That ego is sneaky. Mara, oh, any means is fair for that treachery, that trickery. All right, as often, the determining factor is the mental state behind the activity. The motivation of profit, power, pleasure, prestige, possession. How's that for cosmic P, huh? Even more than the activity itself. The motivation of profit, power, pleasure, prestige, possession, even more than the activity itself. In Buddhist psychology, each desire is an isolated moment of mental activity, a dharma. In the Buddhist technical vocabulary, rising up in the mind. It can be ignored, or one can choose to yield to it. If one yields, the next wave of desire will have greater power to compel attention, and the mental agitation it causes will be more intense. On the other hand, if one chooses to defy a strong desire, the pain can be considerable. Know me to be the power called thirst. Trishna demands of the Buddha on the eve of his enlightenment. And give me my due of worship. Otherwise, I will squeeze you with all my might and wring out the last of your life. However, if one succeeds in not giving in to selfish desires as they arise, the mind gradually quiets down, leaving a longer and longer interval between waves of desire in which the mind is calm. This calmness is our natural birthright, a state beyond the suffering entangled with desire. All the Buddhist teachings come round to this one practical point. To find permanent joy, we have to learn how not to yield to selfish desire. This conclusion is so contrary to human nature that it is not surprising to hear even experts maintain that in preaching the extinction of desire, the Buddha was denying everything that makes life worth living. One True Goddess, what's up? Welcome in. Great to see you. But Trishna does not mean all desire, it means selfish desire, the conditioned craving for self aggrandizement. Far from denigrating desire, the Buddha knew it is the power of desire that fuels progress on the Noble Eightfold Path. There you go. He distinguishes raw, unregulated, self-directed Trishna from the unselfish and uplifting desire to dissolve one's egotism in selfless service of all. The person who makes no effort to go against the base craving for personal satisfaction is headed for more bondage and more sorrow. But he can transform such cravings into virya, Vigor, which is intense desire directed toward spiritual growth. If, while holding on to concentration and one pointedness of mind, one emphasizes desire, that is, concentration of desire, one generates desire for the non arising of unwholesome states that have not yet arisen. He puts forth effort and mobilizes energy. He generates desire for the arising of wholesome states that have not yet arisen. He puts forth effort and mobilizes energy. Therefore, mobilize vigor to attain what is unattained, to master what is unmastered, to realize what is unrealized. In this way, your taking to the spiritual life will not be barren, but fruitful and ever growing. How could such intense effort be made without desire? Spiritual dynamics is not a matter of crushing base desires, but of transforming them, drawing on their power to master the Eightfold Path. The Buddha divides Trishna into three categories. It is selfish desire bound up with passion, and greed, which produces separate existence that leads to future births, and which keeps lingering pleasurably here and there. Wow. That is the desire for sense pleasure, kama trishna. The desire for birth in a world of separateness, bhava trishna, and the desire for extinction, vibhava trishna. The most obvious of these, of course, is the craving for sense pleasure, which the Buddha explains as the force of desire attaching itself to objects in the external world. Any craving for an experience that one thinks will add to personal pleasure, comfort, or happiness is an expression of kama trishna, whose soft bonds to objects of sensory satisfaction are stronger than iron chains or fetters of wood or rope. Even of himself, the Buddha says that if he had had to contend with another desire as strong as that of sex, the most powerful expression of kama trishna, then he would not have been able to achieve his goal. Think about that real quick. Think about that's how powerful above any other energy or any other drive in all of existence, that sexual drive. He says if any other one, if he would, he said luckily that was that he just had that one on that level to contend with. Had he had a second one of that same caliber, not even the Buddha could have done it. Mara is the personification of the stronghold such desires have. The other two kinds of craving are opposing drives deep in the human unconscious. Bhava Trishna, toward existence as a separate creature. Vibhava Trishna, toward extinguishing that existence. Bhava Trishna is the urge to go on upholding and strengthening one's individuality in pursuit not only of wealth, fame, and power, but also of beliefs, opinions, and dogmas. With virtually everyone driven by the craving for personal aggrandizement and sensory satisfaction, it is obvious that there will be clashes as egos collide. The Buddha would trace every conflict, even war, back to these basic selfish drives, occasionally couched in self righteous language or elevated into national or corporate policies. This is another reason the Buddha maintained that the peace is best served by individuals taking in earnest to his Eightfold Path. The more people there are who understand the central role that selfish desire plays in human motivation and behavior, the more intelligently its disastrous effects can be mitigated. A deeper and fuller knowledge of one's own inner dynamics of desire helps in developing right understanding of world conflicts. The Buddha takes the thirst for personal aggrandizement even beyond the international sphere. Trishna has no self limiting principle. The more it is fed, the higher it will flame. It cannot be terminated just by satisfying the desires of one lifetime. According to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, these desires remain in the consciousness at death. Because of their power, they condition the choice of a new context for another life. where satisfaction of the same desires will again be pursued. As long as it remains in consciousness, the master desire for more worldly experience will go on generating more desires, even if some of them seem to be brought under control. You know what? I got a little example of that because it used to crack me up. Because like I used to smoke cigarettes. Still, shoot, like I said, and you've heard me say before that there was one time, even recently, where I was like, "Man, I need a cigarette." But then that still small voice was like, "You don't need a cigarette, man. You need to just chill and not find a cigarette about it." But that's all right. Anyway, was because like friends I used to have, family and stuff, who would be like, "I quit smoking. Guess what? I quit smoking." And I'd be like, "That's awesome. That's so cool." But then they just pull out a vape and start ripping it. It's like you okay, you did quit smoking, but you're still doing nicotine. This is, and so that's just an example of what's being said here. The one desire burning into the next, and trading off for thinking you've let go of this desire only to be really going towards this other one. I think you get what I'm saying. All right. Like a monkey swinging from tree to tree in the forest, the Buddha says desires keep us leaping from life to life, pursuing ever elusive satisfaction. In other discourses, he personifies the deep desire for separate satisfaction as an enterprising seamstress, sewing one life to another and still another with her endless supply of desires. The third kind of selfish desire, Vibhava Trishna, is the craving to end existence, the very opposite of the drive to go on experiencing and self building. But this is far from the desire for nirvana, the release from the cycle of birth and death. Nirvana is release from Trishna itself, from the torment and conditioning of selfish desire. Its characteristic features are joy, vitality, good health, and the highest of all purposes in life, the desire and capacity to give, all things that make life worth living. Vibhavatrishna, by contrast, is the oppressive desire for self oblivion or self destruction prompted in Buddhist psychology by the revulsion with life that comes as the fruits of selfishness turn rotten or bitter. And same with Christianity, right? Like where they have these certain philosophies of Christianity that are like, you are just a sinner. Oh, you are a sinner. And unless you wash yourself of your sins, oh, ho, ho, ho. This self destructive urge is often not consciously expressed, but when it does find expression, it in no way ends one's separate existence. It only draws a temporary cover of oblivion over the burdens and stresses of selfish behavior. A person who jumps off a bridge to end his life, the Buddha would say, simply gets reborn to face the same desperate situation all over again. In Buddhist psychology, any activity that is potentially self destructive stems from the urge for extinction. Even that second double martini intended to deaden the strains of the day is an example of the urge to escape oneself for a few hours. This desire for extinction is present in everyone, but in a normal, healthy person, it is held in balance by the desire for becoming. Verse 353, one of the most famous in all Buddhism, shows that the Buddha was a humble man, but not a modest one. He is well aware of the difficulty and significance of his stupendous accomplishments, which he has achieved with no help apart from his own efforts. Because he had no teacher, some claimed that he tried to lessen the bond to the guru so prized in Hinduism. Certainly, he put the greatest of faith in self-effort, but that is essential on the spiritual path in any religion, with a teacher or without one. All of the stories handed down in the scriptures show the deep bond the Buddha's own disciples felt for him as their teacher. And that bond continues for serious students on all Buddhist paths today. All right then. So 24, thirst. The compulsive urges of the thoughtless grow like a creeper. They jump like a monkey from one life to another, looking for fruit in the forest. When these urges drive us, sorrow spreads like wild grass. Conquer these fierce cravings, and sorrow will fall away from your life like drops of water from a lotus leaf. Therefore, I say, dig up craving root and all, as you would uproot banana grass. If you don't want Mara to crush you as the stream crushes reeds on its banks, as a tree, though cut down, recovers and grows if its roots are not destroyed, suffering will come to you more and more if these compulsive urges are not extinguished. Wherever the 36 streams flow from the mind toward pleasure, the currents will sweep that unfortunate person away. The currents flow everywhere. Creepers of passion grow everywhere. Whenever you see one growing in your mind, uproot it with wisdom. All human beings are subject to attachment and thirst for pleasure. Hankering after these, they are caught in the cycle of birth and death. Driven by this thirst, they run about frightened like a hunted hare, suffering more and more. Driven by this thirst, they run about frightened like a hunted hare. Overcome this thirst and be free. Some, if they manage to come out of one forest of cravings, are driven into another. Though free, they run into bondage again. So see, cigarettes to vape, or even like I've said, what one of the problems I see with all this sick esoteric stuff is that there's the people, especially the more like spooky satanic people, who will be like, they just help you feel freed from the chains of the oppressive church just to throw a new set of chains on you and a new set of dogmas on you. Not everyone, but I do see it out here. That's for sure. Or whatever, you know what I mean? Oh, you know what I'm talking about. You've probably seen it too if you're hanging around here. Fetters of wood, rope, or even iron, say the wise, are not as strong as selfish attachment to wealth and family. Such fetters drag us down and are hard to break. Break them by overcoming selfish desires and turn from the world of sensory pleasure without a backward glance. Really, a lot of emphasis on that selfish word in all of this. Like a spider caught in its own web is a person driven by fierce cravings. Break out of the web and turn away from the world of sensory pleasure and sorrow. If you want to reach the other shore of existence, give up what is before, behind, and in between. Set your mind free and go beyond birth and death. If you want to reach the other shore, don't let doubts, passions, and cravings strengthen your fetters. Meditate deeply, discriminate between the pleasant and the permanent, and break the fetters of Mara. Those who are free from fear, thirst, and sin have removed all the thorns from their life. This body is their last. They are supremely wise who are free from compulsive urges and attachments, and who understand what words really stand for. This body is their last. I have conquered myself and live in purity. I know all. I have left everything behind and live in freedom. Having taught myself, to whom shall I point as a teacher? There is no gift better than the gift of the Dharma. No gift more sweet, no gift more joyful. It puts an end to cravings and the sorrow they bring. Wealth harms the greedy, but not those who seek nirvana. Of little understanding, the greedy harm themselves and those around them. Greed ruins the mind as weeds ruin fields. Therefore, honor those who are free from greed. Lust ruins the mind as weeds ruin fields. Therefore, honor those who are free from lust. Hatred ruins the mind as weeds ruin fields. Therefore, honor those who are free from hatred. Selfish desires ruin the mind as weeds ruin fields. Therefore, honor those who are free from selfish desire. All right. Now we'll be on to the final chapters. Chapters 25 and 26. The Bhikshu and the Brahmin. All right, I'm gonna get a little water real quick. Speaking of thirst, oh boy, I got a serious desire for some water right now. Oh no, not more bondage, not more bondage to water. Nice. Bastard Bison, welcome in, says, stop leaving pamphlets on my goddamn door. That's funny. That's funny. All right then. So, the Bhikshu and the Brahmin. These concluding two chapters describe what might be called the Buddha's spiritual elite, those who have given up every kind of worldly ambition to dedicate their lives completely to the Eightfold Path. These titles are revealing. Chapter 26 is the Brahmin, a reference to the highest priestly caste of the Hindus. Yet the Buddha, as always, judges a person not by external characteristics, birth, status, respectability, but by spiritual growth. Who is a true Brahmin? That one I call a Brahmin who has trained the mind to be still and reached the supreme goal of life. It is not matted hair nor birth that makes a Brahmin, but truth and the love for all of life with which one's heart is full. Unlike the Brahmin in the Hindu tradition, which he sought to change, the Buddha's Brahmin clearly owed nothing to family or heredity. Here, caste is due solely to success in freeing oneself from selfish desire. This high estate also shows itself in a patience which is like an army holding up against blows, verbal abuse, or any other attack. A Brahmin has crossed the torrential river of craving once and for all. Those who have learned what life has to teach are not compelled by past karma to take on a body again. Let's go to the game metaphor real quick. Well, if you beat the crap out of a game, sure, you can continue to play it, but then that's just not gonna have anything left to teach you, is the point. So those who have learned what life has to teach are not compelled by past karma to take on a body again. So what do you think you're really learning by just like trying to escape, trying to avoid, trying to rage quit and throw the Xbox at the TV? All right. These criteria clearly apply to householders, the laity, as readily as to monastics. They are, in principle, within reach of anyone willing to follow the Eightfold Path with complete dedication. Nevertheless, like the founders of the great Christian monastic orders, the Buddha understood that in his time, the most suitable environment for working toward such attainments was away from the world, with ties only to others engaged in the same quest. That is why he initiated an order of monks and an order of nuns, whose ideal is the theme of chapter 25. The Sanskrit name for a Buddhist monk is bhikshu, from the root bhiksh, to beg for alms. Bhikshus have no set home and no possessions save a robe and a begging bowl. They are religious mendicants who go about from, man, that just made a new type of sense to me. They are religious mendicants who go about from village to village, subsisting on the alms obtained from generous householders. A bhikshu does not verbally beg, but simply waits at the door in silence and is bound to accept whatever is given. This was a prevalent monastic tradition in the Buddhist time, and it is still preserved in Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia. As with the Buddha's use of the word Brahmin, however, bhikshu here seems to refer less to a member of an established monastic order than to anyone wholeheartedly committed to a life based on spiritual practice. One is a bhikshu, at least in spirit, who accepts with an equable mind whatever life brings without basing his response on whether what he receives is pleasant or unpleasant. Such a person lives not to get, but to give. Having set about undoing all set molds of past conditioning, the ideal bhikshu abides in maitri, goodwill toward all life, no matter what one's situation. The clear application of such verses is not merely to those who wear the saffron colored robe of a Buddhist monk or nun, but to the spiritual efforts and attainment that are the insignia of anyone dedicated to the path of Dharma. In the Buddha's time, with few exceptions, all who seriously aspired to follow in the Buddha's footsteps became monks and nuns in his orders, including even his father, King Shuddhodana, his wife Yashodhara, and his son Rahula. That was the way to live as much as possible in the sight and presence of one of the greatest spiritual figures the world has ever seen. Wherever it has flourished, however, monasticism has developed some serious drawbacks, and the Buddhist orders were no exception. In ages much more receptive to the cultivation of the inner life than our own, monks and nuns were generally admired for living an austere life and turning their backs on the pleasures and pursuits that most human beings hold dear. What was not so conducive to spiritual growth, however, was their often harsh treatment of the body. In the attempt to smash self will and break the hold of sensory cravings, many monks and nuns resorted to strangling the senses and breaking down not only self will, but the spirit of the human being. Such practices are diametrically opposed to the spirit of the Buddha's middle path, I'll say. Even though many later monastic followers of the Buddha practiced such methods with zeal. With verses like 369, Bhikshu, empty your boat, it will go faster. It is easy to understand an ardent young monk or nun wanting to throw out every personal attachment, even at the expense of physical health, to reach the alluring goal of nirvana. In their immense enthusiasm to move in exactly the opposite direction in which their senses were pulling, however, they often forgot that the Buddha also emphasized the importance of keeping the body strong and fit. He rejected asceticism completely. It is incorrect to think of the Buddha as a shaven headed mendicant who ate only leftovers put in his bowl. In the Indian tradition, alive even today, when such a one as the Buddha arises, villagers happily set aside the best they have to put in his bowl, even if it means their families must do with less. Overzealous followers may have starved and racked their bodies, just as monks and nuns have done in other religious traditions. But the Buddha himself advocated a long, healthy life in the service of all. Though addressed to a monastic community over 2,000 years ago, the truths in these two chapters are just as valid today, and the joyful states of consciousness are still within reach of everyone. While it is unlikely that the extraordinary affluence of our age will reverse itself in a rush to renounce the world, the voluntary simplicity of the middle way is an ideal with growing appeal. In these verses, we can see the outline of a life permanently fulfilled on every human level. All right, then. Ho Sway, welcome back. Great to see you. I hope you're having a wonderful day. All right, let's flip back and let's get these verses. So, 25, the Bhikshu. Nice, got it. Train your eyes and ears, train your nose and tongue. The senses are good friends when they are trained. Train your body in deeds, train your tongue in words, train your mind in thoughts. This training will take you beyond sorrow. Cough, cough. Liber 3, cough, cough. He is a true bhikshu who has trained his hands, feet, and speech to serve others. He meditates deeply, is at peace with himself, and lives in joy. He is a true bhikshu who keeps repeating his mantra, lives simply, and explains the Dharma in sweet words. He is a true bhikshu who follows the Dharma, meditates on the Dharma, rejoices in the Dharma, and therefore never falls away from the Dharma. He is a bhikshu who is content with what he receives and is never jealous of others. Those who are jealous cannot do well in meditation. Even the gods praise the bhikshu who is contented and lives a pure life of selfless service. Free from the desire to possess people and things, he does not grieve over what is not. With friendship toward all and faith in the Buddha's teachings, he will reach the holy state where all is peace. Bhikshu, empty your boat, it will go faster. Cast out greed and hatred and reach nirvana. Overcome the five obstacles, rise above the five selfish attachments, and you will cross the river of life. Meditate, bhikshu, meditate. Do not run after sense pleasures. Do not swallow a red hot iron ball and then cry, I am in great pain. There can be no meditation for those who are not wise, and no wisdom for those who do not meditate. Growing in wisdom through meditation, you will surely be close to nirvana. Hold on. I want to pull up an image real quick that goes with that last verse. Here we go. It's this one. So there can be no meditation for those who are not wise, and no wisdom for those who do not meditate. And then there, that picture right there. All right. Growing in wisdom through meditation, you will surely be close to nirvana. When a bhikshu stills his mind, he enters an empty house. His heart is full of the divine joy of the Dharma. Understanding the rise and fall of the elements that make up the body, he gains the joy of immortality. Learn to be wise, O bhikshu. Train your senses. Be contented. Follow the teachings of the Dharma and keep pure and noble friends. Be a friend of all. Perform your duties well. Then, with your joy ever growing, you will put an end to sorrow. As the Versika plant sheds its faded flowers, O bhikshu, shed all greed and hatred. He is a bhikshu who is calm in thought, word, and deed, and has turned his back upon the allurements of the world. Raise yourself by your own efforts, O bhikshu. Be your own critic. Thus, self-reliant and vigilant, you will live in joy. Be your own master and protector. Train your mind as a merchant trains his horse. Full of peace and joy is the bhikshu who follows the Dharma and reaches the other shore beyond the flux of mortal life. Full of light is the young bhikshu who follows the Dharma. He lights up the world as the moon lights a cloudless sky. All right, 26, the Brahmin. Cross the river bravely, conquer all your passions, go beyond the world of fragments and know the deathless ground of life. Cross the river bravely, conquer all your passions, go beyond your likes and dislikes, and all fetters will fall away. Who is a true Brahmin? That one I call a Brahmin who has neither likes nor dislikes and is free from the chains of fear. Who is a true Brahmin? That one I call a Brahmin who has trained the mind to be still and reached the supreme goal of life. The sun shines in the day, the moon shines in the night, the warrior shines in battle, the Brahmin in meditation. But day and night, the Buddha shines in radiance of love for all. That one I call a Brahmin who has shed all evil. I call that one a recluse whose mind is serene, a wanderer whose heart is pure. That one I call a Brahmin who is never angry, never causes harm to others, even when harmed by them. That one I call a Brahmin who clings not to pleasure. Do not cause sorrow to others, no more sorrow will come to you. That one I call a Brahmin who does not hurt others with unkind acts, words, or thoughts. Both body and mind obey him. That one I call a Brahmin who walks in the footsteps of the Buddha. Light your torch from the fire of his sacrifice. It is not matted hair nor birth that makes a Brahmin, but truth and the love for all of life with which one's heart is full. What use is matted hair? What use is a deerskin on which to sit for meditation if your mind still seethes with lust? Saffron robe and outward show do not make a Brahmin, but training of the mind and senses through practice of meditation. Neither riches nor high caste makes a Brahmin. Free yourself from selfish desires, and you will become a Brahmin. The Brahmin has thrown off all chains and trembles not in fear. No selfish bonds can ensnare such a one, no impure thought pollute the mind. That one I call a Brahmin who has cut through the strap and thong and chain of karma. Such a one has got up from sleep fully awake. That one I call a Brahmin who fears neither prison nor death. Such a one has the power of love no army can defeat. Oh, that one I call a Brahmin who is never angry, never goes astray from the path, who is pure and self controlled. This body is the last. That one I call a Brahmin who clings not to pleasure, no more than water to a lotus leaf or mustard seed to the tip of a needle. For such a one, no more sorrow will come, no more burden will fall. That one I call a Brahmin whose wisdom is profound and whose understanding deep, who by following the right path and avoiding the wrong has reached the highest goal. That one I call a Brahmin whose wants are few, who is detached from householders and homeless mendicants alike. That one I call a Brahmin who has put aside weapons and renounced violence toward all creatures. Such a one neither kills nor helps others to kill. That one I call a Brahmin who is never hostile to those who are hostile toward him, who is detached among those who are selfish and at peace among those at war. That one I call a Brahmin from whom passion and hatred, arrogance and deceit have fallen away like mustard seed from the point of a needle. That one I call a Brahmin who is ever true, ever kind. Such a one never asks what life can give, only what can I give life? That one I call a Brahmin who has found his heaven, free from every selfish desire, free from every impurity, wanting nothing at all, doubting nothing at all, master of both body and mind. Such a one has gone beyond time and death. That one I call a Brahmin who has gone beyond good and evil and is free from sorrow, passion, and impurity. That one I call a Brahmin who has risen above the duality of this world, free from sorrow and free from sin. Such a one shines like the full moon with no cloud in the sky. That one I call a Brahmin who has crossed the river difficult and dangerous to cross and safely reached the other shore. That one I call a Brahmin who has turned his back upon himself. Homeless, such a one is ever at home. Egoless, he is ever full. Self-will has left his mind. It will never return. Sorrow has left his life. It will never return. That one I call a Brahmin. Come on. Who has overcome the urge to possess even heavenly things and is free from all selfish attachments. That one I call a Brahmin, who is free from bondage to human beings and to nature alike, the hero who has conquered the world. That one I call a Brahmin, who is free from I, me, and mine, who knows the rise and fall of life. Such a one is awake and will not fall asleep again. That one I call a Brahmin, whose way no one can know. Such a one lives free from past and future, free from decay and death, possessing nothing, desiring nothing for their own pleasure, their own profit. They have become a force for good, working for the freedom of all. That one I call a Brahmin who is fearless, heroic, unshakable, a great sage who has conquered death and attained life's goal. Brahmins have reached the end of the way. They have crossed the river of life. All that they had to do is done. They have become one with all life. All right. Man, that's a great book. Some great things to be learned from that particular text, that's for sure. And that completes it. So give yourself a round of applause if you hung out for this book study. Definitely review this one from time to time. Some real important teachings in here, and definitely some stuff that I can see how can very easily be misinterpreted. But shoot, people misinterpret stuff that even doesn't have like a deep spiritual meaning. People misinterpret the way you say things in like a chat from time to time, or like the way you look at them from, I don't know, across the room. You got a problem? Dude, I was literally just thinking about I gotta go home real quick, and my bad. Sometimes, or else sometimes it's, oh no, you got a problem. You got a problem. Put your fists up. You know the game. You know the game. Whatever, man. Why do I gotta put my fists up? All right, you want to fight? You want to fight that bad, bro? Then let's fight. Anyway, it's easy to misinterpret things. It certainly is very easy to misinterpret things, or it's easy to read things wrong. It's easy. What is really easy to do is project. If that's kind of this whole thing, that image I showed you, right? It's this like constant dance of projection. And so this text in particular, though, really is a very illuminating one on how do I want to say, how to really get the most out of that ability to project. Yeah, maybe I think that's a decent enough way to put it. To really refine your inner world in such a way that that same effect is going to happen within your outer world. Compassion, love for all, right? It's all an illusion. Well, then what's the point? Well, because the point is, well, we don't really experience it as an illusion. So you can sit here and tell me all you want Vedantic philosophy and it's just the matrix and yada yada, but let me tell you something. We all we all still got to do the thing. So while we're here, the best we can do is focus on growth, compassion, action in inaction, inaction in action, like Krishna said. Or even like the Buddha might put it, like desireless desire, huh? Well, how does that work? How do you have a desireless desire? Well, maybe let that be your meditation for the day. All right, everyone. Well, this one has definitely been really fun. And I appreciate you all very much. I love you all very much. I'm excited to finish up the Book of the Law tonight, too. So I might see some of you there. I might see some of you in the future. I might see some of you in the past. It's hard to know for sure. But either way, when I see you, I got love for you. So until then, this has been Jay Baldell, and this has been the Dhammapada. Bye-bye.